All right. So, what else are we talking about? What do y'all feel like talking about? What do I feel like talking about? Well, I feel like talking about what I've been watching every single night is this Missing Link series by Greg Braden. Okay. Now, no, hold on. If you know who Greg Braden is and you have your judgments, Greg Braden is a, uh, what, esoteric, would you say, or the spirit science type of guy. He's actually a geologist, so he actually goes around to the world. He's a geologist, so he studies geography and how that influences the world and continents and societies and cultures and all that stuff. So he's that kind of guy. So when you take that kind of guy and you mix that with the spiritual side, where his obsession with ancient civilizations, you get a pretty interesting perspective on life, because he's talking about things like the double split experiment, or the two proton experiment, the photon experiment, like quantum entanglement type thing. Like, if you guys like talking about that type of stuff, bruh, that's all I want to talk about. It's all I ever literally think about reality, about ancient civilizations, about where we come from, what it is to be human, why we have this complex of feeling like we have something to worship. You know what I mean? And that's something that you might be like, no, I don't worship nothing. But yet, you might watch a lot of sports, or you might love cars, you might love women, might love men, you might love whatever. People worship things regardless. That's what I've noticed. People worship companies. Some people worship Lulu. Some people worship Apple. They only buy Apple. Some people are like, yo, I'm just a Beamer guy. Yo, I'm just a this. I'm just a. Everybody worships something, a movie star, a politician, even a family member, a friend. There's a sense of worship. So humans have this sense of, we want to be devoted. We want to be in service to. We always want to be I'm part of this team. I'm part of this, not culture, this cult, this thing. We always want to be feeling like we're part of this thing. And that comes from somewhere. That must mean there's something there, because if we didn't have this complex, we'd like animals are kind of like that. They don't really have this complex of worship anything. They just live day to day. You feel me? So there's something to be said about this, this feeling of there's something there that we have to almost not just pray to, but almost communicate with. You know what I mean? Even right now, you might think I'm speaking to you, but it's I'm having a conversation with myself. And what does that mean if I'm talking to myself? I'm talking to they call it the higher self. You know what I mean? If I want to talk about that whole Greg Braden thing, we're going to talk about a little bit about that esoteric. It's not just Greg Braden's information. He's just really good at now making YouTube videos almost daily. Check it out, Missing Links on YouTube. It's amazing. There's a lot of controversial, maybe stretches and reaches towards if this was built by this, maybe it was giants, or maybe it was aliens, or maybe it was but at the end of the day, why don't people? I don't know. That I like the idea of simply thinking about things that aren't in the mainstream and aren't talked about. And I have a hard time. It's just that I find a lot of people don't like thinking. It's a skill. Thinking is a skill. It's not something that's just given, because you give somebody too much thinking and they don't know how to use it. It's anxiety. You give somebody not enough thinking and they don't really know what to do with their lives. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's, or maybe it's not depression. Maybe it's just can't get out of their hole type thing. You know what I mean? Because they're not using the brainwave. They're not in the brainwave states, that they can be in potentially, like gamma or alpha or beta. Instead, they want to be in the lower ones, the deltas. The delta the delta wavelength, which is actually a measurable brainwave state. And I don't find people talking about the delta variant being delta low brainwave states. It's kind of, I don't want to get off about that. But point is, ancient civilizations. Now I can go off about this, but I think I might just do a quick intro video or something. But I'll tell you this: ancient civilizations. The amount of hours I've done on research on ancient civilizations will probably stagger you. I went from being an athlete growing up, very, very much a jock type of life, even though I was a nicer kind of guy to people. I think maybe I don't, maybe I won't. Maybe people were bullied by me or felt bullied by me. Who knows? But I had that Kobe mentality when I was in high school, and I was just an athlete. But anyway, so I like to think I am anyway. So if that's the case, and I was that then all of a sudden when I got, when I just kind of left the sports life behind, I wanted to find out who else I was. If I'm capable of doing that in that avenue and getting really good at whatever I choose, well, why can't my mental capacity be better? I want to learn how to think better. I want to know how to feel better, or how to translate those feelings into thoughts and into words so that I can express how I feel. You know, not a lot of people can express how they feel because they don't really know how to interpret those feelings. Sometimes those feelings of anger are just like, they're not really jealousy, they're actually sadness. And if you could just dive into the concept of that, and it's just not, sorry, let me just make sure this is on right. And if you just dive into the concept of like, if you can't interpret how you feel, right, and you might think it's anger, but it's not. It's sadness. And most of the time, every time I've been really angry, it's like there's part of you that just wants to like cry. And if you don't want to cry, you get so mad the fact that you're in that state that you just want to like let it out, because you don't know how to translate or transmute that signal, that energy. And it's energy. It really is. Whether it's coming through us or we're producing it, it's energy that needs to flow in some other ways. And if it doesn't flow, it gets stagnated or it gets pulled. And that's why some cultures believe in like, you know, energy flows being stuck in the body. Now, whether you're religious, whether you're spiritual or not, this stuff like should resonate with pretty much everybody, because it's deep truth, you know. Some things like deep truth, you can't lie about it. You can't like kind of go around it, because everybody will feel it at some level, because it's truth. It's like especially because it's my truth. It's hard for someone to be like, no man, that's not true. I'm like, it's not true, bro. It's just not. Yeah, it's not true for you, but if it's true for me, then my reality is the only thing I experience. So therefore, what's it to you? You know what I mean? Like, your reality is yours, my reality is mine. Is there an objective reality? Is there a subjective reality? Now, that is like a real big concept when it comes to what we were talking about with the Gregg Braden stuff, with the double split, or the double photon quantum entanglement. Now, going off on that episode, because we can talk about pyramids, we talk about all that stuff, but we're talking about the recent episodes I watched. Quantum entanglement means, during the concept, whether you believe in the Big Bang, or whether you know it's fact, or whether you know it's not fact, whatever, let's talk about the Big Bang. So if we were a pea size at one point, and we've expanded and exploded to this point of where we're at right now, this thing sounds like it's like leaking, it's tripping me out. Anyways, so if the Big Bang exploded back then, it's saying, basically, if you get one photon over here, or particle over here, and you get another particle over here, but they were split, and you split them, and you put them in, let's say you put them in two different sides of let's say the world, or let's say the room, let's say two different sides of the city, and then you like zapped one of them. You know what happens is the other one feels the zap. Now, I'm not doing a good job of explaining that, but if you charge something on this side and it's connected to that one, the other one will feel it too, because they're actually connected quantumly. They're entangled. There's this field that they're connecting through, that they're never actually separate. And they're saying, based on that, they deduced, or they came up with the idea that we were all at one point the size of a pea. All matter in this entire universe was the size of a pea that expanded over time. And now people that are scientific, that aren't, you know, very spiritual, when you really think about that, it's like science took this theory, took away from religion, but then it became this unbelievably spiritual concept of that we were all one at one point, and we've been expanding ever so slightly. So the complexity of the patterns and the fractal patterns of what we are, the complexity of that is infinite. It doesn't have to expand outside of our world, but within ourselves. And that's when you get into sacred geometry, that you see that within a finite region, let's say a circle, so we get a finite region, you can actually, like a snowflake, divide the complexity of that snowflake infinite amounts of times. Have you ever seen a kaleidoscope? Like, kind of like a kaleidoscope, that little thing you look into sometimes, and it kind of just creates all these unbelievable undulations of light and geometry. It's just incredible, right? So that's kind of like how many different variations of a snowflake there is. Now snowflakes fall from the sky, but we never really think about what a snowflake is. A snowflake is like a particle of water, almost condensed or frozen in time, so that you can see what the particles and structures of reality is. So you see them in not every snowflake is the same. Every snowflake is different. So if every snowflake is different, every human is different, every branch is different, but they follow a certain code. They stay within the parameters, but they infinitely change within. That's like you. That's what you are, yo. That's what you are. That's how crazy this. So if you're not spiritual, whatever, but see what I'm saying? See how I brought that together? Like you are this infinite consciousness that is ever expanding, and it wants to learn about itself, and you are a conscious. Once you say you're a human being, you're a part of a religion, you're part of a team, you've segregated and simply simplified the complexity of what you really are. And what you really are is everything. The question should be, what aren't you? What you're not. Now this is going to sound totally crazy to you, but we're talking about quantum entanglement. So if we're all the size of a pea at one point, size of a pea, that's good. Somebody's going to take that in comment section. And anyway, if we were all this, I always got to fix this beard. If we're the size of a pea, we're all expanded. Now we're all still connected. Just because we don't see it, just because we don't see the Wi-Fi signals, don't mean the Wi-Fi signals aren't transmitting throughout these devices constantly. It's the same thing, man. Like, we have telepathic abilities. Who knows if the human civilization back in the day used to be more advanced, and we've been like slowly becoming more genetically modified as humanity learns how to play with the sequence of the genome. Now, I find that fascinating. But anyways, the quantum entanglement idea and the double slit. You've seen the double slit experiment where the observer where there's two slits in a wall and they shoot light through it, and based on how you look at it, you see the light either go through this one or that one based on the observer. And there's a lot of people that say, yeah, it's not as woohoo spiritual as the people on TV make it. However, if you look at all these interesting facts, they kind of point us to a certain direction, and a lot of scientists don't want to talk. Just like for example, junk DNA. You know what I mean? It's the concept of junk DNA. Like, we have over 70% of our DNA, or 60% or something like that of our DNA that's like they consider junk DNA. Well, it's because we can't call it junk DNA. We just don't know what it is. And just I think just like we never knew what infrared is before, like we never knew what infrared light is, or X-ray. Like, these are all like gamma ray. Like, these are all, you know what I mean? Like light spectrums. But we never seen it because we never had the tools to measure it. You feel me? Like, yo, this is some crazy, like, and if we never had the tools to measure these things, how would we ever know they actually existed? So therefore, like the soul, for example, we're not going to have a tool to measure a soul, because how could you have a tool to measure infinity if our soul is infinite, right? Or if our soul is not even in this realm, what if it's like in a different dimension, but it's like the Matrix, you know what I mean? Like, our consciousness is here to experience just this separation. Like, we're here to see ourselves. Outside of any religion. This is not coming from a specific religion. This is coming from the experiences I've had with substances and with religions and non-religions and just life. It teaches you that nothing is certain and nothing is like fixed. But at the end of the day, we are all a reflection of each other. We're all the same, man. We're all it. You know what I mean? We're all it. Just different variations and different sequences and different genetic anomalies of that, you know what I mean? And yeah, like I said before, maybe we were more psychic back in the day. Maybe we had powers to influence matter and that type of thing in the past. And as we started outsourcing that ability into technology, we stopped needing to use our intuition. We stopped needing to have psychic ability, because we could text each other and call each other. So we don't need to like have these things that maybe we already had. I think we're creating technology, just like this lens right now is doing unbelievable things with focus. Our eyes do that. Yo, check out this. Like, learn about the eye, bro. If you learn about the eye, you'll learn that there's something about this reality that's not random. This eyeball is more sophisticated than any of these lenses and cameras that cost hundreds of dollars, and they've taken us so long to develop. So the human eye and the human body is just unbelievable, bro. The more I learn about it, and I learned about it in school too. I learned about the body. I learned about everything. I learned about, bro, and I spent time with consciousness. I've done psychedelics to the point where I've done it for research sakes. Like, I wanted like a telescope, but to the inner world, to my inner consciousness. And if you dive into that, I'm telling you right now, I'm not saying you need substances. I'm just saying the more you dive into who you are and like kind of get out of your comfort zone and just shed this pattern of behavior that you keep kind of portraying, and you try to choose to be something different, you'll find that there's like so much in you. You have a lot in you, but it's us that limits that. You know what I mean? But how can I tie this back into ancient civilizations? So the point is, the reason why I love learning about ancient civilizations, like, because it gives me more meaning, it gives me more purpose. Because if you don't know your past, you don't know where we come from, how do we know where we're going? How do we know where we're at? It's so weird. Like, you see a building halfway done and you're like, all right, so like, that's probably a bad reference, but like, how did that building get done in the first place? Like, where's the floor plan? Where is it going? Like, is this going to be like the Tower of Leaning Tower of Pisa? Is that the plan? Or is it going to have some good have a good foundation? Like, how high because based on how high we go, we need to know. We're only going to know how high it goes based on how strong the base is. So you need to know how strong the base is to know how high it goes. That turned out to be a pretty good reference, actually. So you can't see a building halfway and be like, all right, I'm just gonna wing it. No, you gotta know where it was and where it's going. You know. Bob Marley says that in one of his songs. Maybe I can't quote him exactly, but he says you gotta know your past. If you don't know your history, you know the rest of the word. You will know where you're coming from. Yeah, you know that song. Then you wouldn't have to ask me where the hell I know the whole song, bro. I'm gonna be so mad at myself when I play it because I know Buffalo Soldier. There it is. Okay, I love Bob Marley. I love Damian Marley too. He's great music. Medication. Check that song out. Fantastic. Patience. Damian Marley, another great song. Anyway, sorry, going back. Sorry. I ain't apologizing for shit. I'm like this Conor McGregor mentality now. Fuck apologizing. I do probably a bad accent. I do a good accent about a lot of things, but not Conor McGregor. Anyways, ancient civilizations, quantum entanglement, pyramids. Yo, I'm obsessed with pyramids, bro. I got a tattoo of the pyramid with an 11 in it. The 11 is symbolic to me. It means a lot. I'm on not numerology, but the 11 numbers, it ties into ancient civilizations and all this kind of stuff. And the pyramid itself, the Trinity, is in every religion. It's in everything. Three's Company, like threes everywhere. 369. 369 is the structure of how all things are built. And if you start noticing how ancient civilizations were obsessed with the building of using mathematics and using the structure of, like, for example, the circumference of the earth, they built pyramids in the shape or the measurements of the circumference of the earth, for example. Or, you know, there's like 2,300,000 stones in the pyramid. It says, you know, I've heard this from Rogan, I've heard this from so many people, each weighing like 10 to 50 to 100 tons or something like that, and they're all dragged in from quarries that were like hundreds of kilometers away, and there's no way you could have dragged them and placed them to all fit towards the Orion star system in perfect dew point north, and all focused on the same pyramids that exist in Mexico, and the same pyramids that exist in China, and the same ones that appear in Russia and England, and all the pyramids, thousands of pyramids all over the world. But yet, you know, they're all built in the same way. They're all built pointing towards the same star systems, which to me shows me that there was a civilization, a global or worldly civilization before ours, and it existed throughout the entire world. God damn, what was that? Whoa, you scared the... Yo, Annie just scared the hell out of me. God damn, scared the hell out of me, girl. Hold on, I gotta finish this point. We're not done yet. I just heard a sound. We're not done yet.
I was probably in the background.
You were in the background. Hold on, let me talk about this ancient civilization. I'm talking about this ancient civilizations thing. So we're talking about all these pyramids all over the world. So you're telling me that there was no civilization that was global back in the day, that far back? I find it absolutely mind-blowing that these civilizations are understudied, underappreciated, and like, I find that people just don't care. They'd rather look into like books, but we have like so much to discover, yo. There's so much to discover. There's so much curiosity that we need to embody as young people that nothing is figured out. Nothing is figured out. The ocean is what, 4%? The Amazon is what, maybe 5%? Like what else? Like, we don't know anything about others. We don't know about anything about cells. We do, but we're learning how to dye them better, and fluorescence and stuff, and DNA is junk DNA. We talked about that. Bro, there's so much we don't know. We need more just explorers and scientists, and like real scientists, not the shit that we're seeing right now. Not the science we're seeing right now. It's like a religion. It's like political science. Like what? Poli-sci sucked in university. No, I'm just kidding. Not that poli-sci. But you know what I'm saying? It's like politicized, and we hate that shit. We want actual science. Like, I want to go and explore and learn and do archaeology. I always wanted to do that. But anyways, I love ancient civilizations because it reminds me of a deep history and a deep past that I was involved in, and all of us were involved in, and our ancestors were involved in. It means what we're capable of. Remember the reference with the building. You can't know how high you're going to build without knowing how low the base and how strong the base is. I want to learn how strong the base is in terms of my history, my human history, not just my country, not just my skin color. I want to know where my DNA comes from. And I think that more people, if we're obsessed with that, I guarantee you we're having a better world, because we're all going to be more curious instead of being fixed. We're going to be more loving to each other because we're going to be understanding that we all don't know what's going on. And the more we outsource our ideas and the more we make ourselves feel like somebody like Bezos or Bill Gates got it figured out, they don't. That's why they're messing everything up. Just kidding. They're probably not, but who knows? I'm just going to say my opinion. Anyways, yo, Ancient Civilization. I got a whole bunch more videos about this. I love talking about this stuff. If you love this stuff, hit that comment button, like the subscribe, whatever the hell y'all do on YouTube. If this reaches YouTube, and I hope it does, because I really want this to be out there, and I really want you to get this message, because you are more than you think you are. One more pan just to show y'all what you can do with hard work, dedication. Oh, hi. Yeah, that's part of it. You get a beautiful, amazing woman too, and you get all this involved. So till next time, fam. Love you, love yourself. Peace.